Now, the quarterbacks that have been sacked the most, well, this is Aaron Rodgers. He's been sacked 580 times in his career, which is not only leads active players, it's the most sacks by any NFL quarterback in history. Welcome to Just the Stats NFL, the show that covers the top 10s after each week of the regular season and going into post-game as well. So we're going to break down the NFL's top 10 players and teams every week. All right, so as I continue to do this, let me just say I'm Ernie Jennings, your host. And in this episode, we're going to look at the career all-time top 10s. That will be where we start. And we're going to start with the active because there's some categories, honestly, that there is no active player in all-time records when you're talking about everybody from the past. So, for example, the prime one would always be the all-time interception leaders. There is nobody currently playing that's anywhere even probably in the top 100 even. So we can look at the active players too and then see which one of those are also involved in the top 10 all-time players as well. And there are some, especially when you're talking about quarterbacks. All right, so let's start with that. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Right now, you've got two quarterbacks way ahead of any other quarterback actively playing, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford. Aaron Rodgers leads the NFL in passing yards with 63,738. Matthew Stafford second with 61,312. Now you have Russell Wilson, but now he's been benched. You have Joe Flacco, who had been benched, and now just before I even started doing this podcast, it came across the wire that Joe Flacco was being traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, and he will now be starting, I think, for the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Flacco, who is fourth all-time in active players as far as passing yards, is only a little over 400 yards behind Russell Wilson. So give him a couple weeks in Cincinnati, and he should move into third position as far as that goes. Then looking at some of these other ones, you do have a couple of players that aren't playing right now. Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton, they're just bench players. Seventh is Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott. They all have a group in the 30-something thousand range. Josh Allen's 10th with 27,000. So he's 10th, so a long ways from anybody at the top as far as that goes. We'll look at a couple of those players, especially Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, in a minute. Now, looking at touchdown passes, active players, well, this is Aaron Rodgers by a mile. Aaron Rodgers right now leads the NFL among active players with 511 touchdown passes. Matthew Stafford second with 388. So quite a difference. Quite a gap between the two. Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco are next. Now, Joe Flacco has 259. Kirk Cousins for fifth place. Kirk Cousins has 288. So it's a possibility that Joe Flacco may be able to catch Kirk Cousins if he plays most of the season with Cincinnati. Number 7, Patrick Mahomes has been flying up the list. He's got 253. It's very likely that he easily moves from 7th to at least 5th and possibly can catch Kirk Cousins at 288. That would be a little much. That's 25. He could do, well, actually, it's 35. That's a lot for the rest of the season. So that probably won't catch Kirk Cousins, but definitely will pass Flacco unless Flacco really produces some big numbers. So we'll have to see. And then Jared Goff is another step down, as well as Dak Prescott. And then Josh Allen rounds out the top 10 again with 204. All right, now looking at interceptions, currently Matthew Stafford leads the NFL among active players with 190 interceptions. Joe Flacco had stopped his movement. But he's second now with 168, so we'll see that number rise. And then you have Aaron Rodgers is 5th with 119. He could catch Kirk Cousins, who has 126. We'll see. Then you've got a couple more players, Russell Wilson, Jameson Winston. Jared Goff has 96 for 8th spot. Baker Mayfield, 91. And then Josh Allen again seems to come up 10th every time. He's got 86. Now, the quarterbacks that have been sacked the most, well, this is Aaron Rodgers. He's been sacked 580 times in his career, which is not only leads active players, it's the most sacks by any NFL quarterback in history. So he leads the entire NFL of all time in sacks. So that number is just going to continue to go up, however many sacks he gets the rest of this year. Russell Wilson was on his pace to catch him and actually moved into second, but since he's been benched, we'll see. He's got 568 sacks, so he's not far behind Rodgers. In between the two of them is Fran Tarkenton, I think with like 570, I believe, something like that. We'll look at it in a minute. So Russell Wilson was closing in on him, but since he's been benched, we'll see. Now, Matthew Stafford's a distant third with 511. Joe Flacco, now that he's playing again, has 413. Again, a distance away. Then Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott has 263. As I said, that's quite a ways. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is moving up this list to catch Goff and Mayfield, but we'll see how much longer he stays as the starting quarterback. All right, that's a look at the quarterbacks that are currently active players. Let's look at the running backs and see who's leading the NFL in that category. And this is an easy one as far as who's the leading in carries and so forth. It's Derrick Henry by a mile. Derrick Henry is among active players is leading with 11,740 yards. Second, Saquon Barkley with 7,483. So you're talking about over 4,000 yard difference between the first and second place guy. Joe Mixon's third, and he's mysteriously not playing this year. And it sounds like from what I've heard, he will not play at all. He's got 7,400 yards. Josh Jacobs is fourth with 7,140. So he's a chance to move up past Joe Mixon into third among active players. Then you've got Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara. Next one up that might move up this list a little bit past those is Christian McCaffrey, even though he's been doing much better in the receiving game. And we'll talk about Kamara and McCaffrey in a minute. Jonathan Taylor has almost 500 rushing yards this season. He's ninth right now with 6,493. So he has a chance to maybe pass some of these guys like Jones, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, because Alvin Kamara is not getting many yards so far. And looks like he's sharing a lot more time now and with Kendra Miller, the other running back. So we'll see what's happening with the Saints. And then rounding it out is a quarterback. Lamar Jackson is 10th all-time in rushing yards with 6,339. Among active players, he's number 10. Pretty good. All right, looking at touchdowns among running backs or rushers, in fact, because it's not just running backs here. This is a very interesting category, but it's Derrick Henry with 110 to lead the NFL among active players. Second, quarterback Josh Allen with 68 is second. Josh Jacobs with Green Bay right now has 65, and then Alvin Kamara 61. Joe Mixon, James Conner, they're both not playing. And then another quarterback, Jalen Hurts, is 7th with 59. Now, Jonathan Taylor's 8th. He's already had 6 touchdowns this season so far. He's got 57. David Montgomery in 9th with 55. And then Nick Chubb is 10th with 53, but right behind him is Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. So those two are definitely have a chance to catch him. After that, there's not many players. So we'll look at Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley to move into the top 10 among active players as far as rushing touchdowns. All right, let's look at the wide receivers here. Look at receptions. See who's leading the NFL in that category. Well, it's Travis Kelce, 1,026 receptions, the top receiver. He's a tight end for the Chiefs. He's got 1,026 receptions to lead the NFL among active players. Keenan McCardell just broke into the 1,000 reception club this past game, actually. Keenan Allen now has 1,003 receptions. What's interesting is Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Hopkins, who is third with 991, all came into the league in 2013, and they're within 35 receptions of each other. That's interesting. Then Devontae Adams has 979. He came in a year later than those three players. So there was only 15 players in NFL history with 1,000 or more receptions. Keenan Allen now makes that 16, and Hopkins is only 9 away himself, but he has not been catching as many passes as Keenan Allen has. And then Devontae Adams is next with 979. He should also make the 1,000 reception club this season. They're the only ones that will make it. Next up will be Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans. They're much farther down the road. And after that, there's nobody who has a chance. Honestly, when you look down the rest of this top 10, for example, Tyreek Hill, his career could be over. Zach Ertz, he's definitely slowed down. Brandon Cooks, he's just a backup. Adam Thielen's a backup. Robert Woods isn't playing. I haven't this year, even though he's on the list. Tyler Lockett's not doing much. Cooper Kupp again. But these guys are way down in the 600s and 700s. They're never going to get there. I mean, the next one we're really talking about seriously. Wow. I mean, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb would be the next two, but they're only halfway there. They each have over 500, but they're a long ways away. So it's a very exclusive club, and it's interesting that with so few, we have a possibility of 4 players that are active being among the top 15, 16 now, and then soon to be as many as 18. All right, that's receptions. Now looking at yards, this is different. This is where DeAndre Hopkins is up at the top of this list. He's number 1 with 13,123 yards. Mike Evans is second with a chance he could have caught DeAndre Hopkins, but he's missing some games here. So we'll see what happens there. Travis Kelce, tight end with 12,394. And then Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen round out the top 5. After that, Tyreek Hill, like I said, is done. And Stephon Diggs is over 10,000 with 10,850. He had a decent game this weekend, his best game so far this season. So we'll see. He needs another 500 yards to catch Tyreek Hill to move into 6th among active players. The rest of them are players that aren't going to move much. Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen, and Zach are it. That's it. And Brandon Cooks I mentioned. So that's it among the active players. Justin Jefferson will be the next one, but he won't make it to the top 10 this year. Well, let me take that back. He has 7,881. Adam Thielen has 8,348. So it's a possibility that he does, depending on how many yards Thielen gets this season. All right. And then touchdowns. Mike Evans and Devontae Adams lead this category, both with 106 touchdowns. And we'll see them again. And they lead by quite a gap over DeAndre Hopkins, who has 85. Tyreek Hill, 83. And then Travis Kelce, top tight end, with 79. Stephon Diggs now has 70 to put him one ahead of Keenan Allen, who has 69. And then you have Adam Thielen, Tyler Lockett, and Brandon Cooks again to lead it out, to round out the top 10. All right. Now let's look at some of the active players who are on the career all-time list. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. Well, Aaron Rodgers is 6th all-time in passing yards with 63,738 yards. Number 5, and this will be the only player he catches. I'm sure he's going to retire before he can catch Brett Favre, who's in 4th. But Ben Roethlisberger's in fifth with 64,088 yards. So he only needs 350 yards to catch Ben Roethlisberger. So probably 2 games at the rate he's been going, and he'll pass Ben Roethlisberger, which I find interesting because, this is Aaron Rodgers' only season so far with the Steelers. I don't know what'll happen next year, but he's about to pass the best quarterback the Steelers ever had in Ben Roethlisberger. He's about to pass him as a Steeler. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Now, Matthew Stafford broke into the top 10 this season, and he's number 10 right now with 61,312. He's going to pass Dan Marino this next week. He only needs 49 yards to time, 50 yards to pass Dan Marino to move into 9th all time. Then it'll take a little bit to catch Matt Ryan, who's 8th with 62,792. So he needs 1,400, almost 1,500 yards for that. So that'll be a few more games, another 5-6 games. But Matthew Stafford's averaging over 300, only quarterback right now, averaging 300 yards a game. So he could pass Matt Ryan in 5 games. He has a good chance of catching just about everybody up to number 5. Ben Roethlisberger has a little over 64,000 yards, but then number 4, Brett Favre, has almost 72,000. So there's a huge gap between the 4th spot and the 5th spot. So I can see Matthew Stafford possibly getting up as high as 6th because Aaron Rodgers will move up as well. And but 7th definitely has a chance at Matthew Stafford. And then just don't know if he'll play next year or not. Amazingly, Aaron Rodgers has been a quarterback since 2005. Matthew Stafford since 2009. They've been around a while. Now, looking at touchdown passes, Aaron Rodgers is 4th all time. He passed Brett Favre just a couple of weeks ago to move into 4th all time. Brett Favre had 508. Aaron Rodgers has 511 to put him into 4th. Now, next up for him is Peyton Manning, who's in 3rd with 539, but he needs 28. We'll see. That's going to be a tough one. It's a definite possibility, but not a certainty for sure. Now, Matthew Stafford's number 9 right now, and he's 30 behind Ben Roethlisberger to move into 8th. So that one would be tough as well to get to that many touchdowns, another 30 on top of what he already has. Not out of the realm of possibility, but it's going to be a tough one. He passed Matt Ryan a couple of weeks ago, who's in 10th now. So Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, both of them active on the passing yards and passing touchdowns. Now, like I was saying, when it comes to sacks, who's been sacked the most? Well, that is Aaron Rodgers with 580, all-time leader in sacks. Russell Wilson's 3rd with 568. Only needed 2 more sacks, and he'd move into tie with Fran Tarkenton for 2nd. 3 to pass Fran Tarkenton. So Fran Tarkenton has 570. Those are your top 3. Matthew Stafford's also on this list. He's number 8 in sacks with 511. Next up for him is John Elway, who's in 7th with 516. So again, you have Aaron Rodgers and Stafford, but then Russell Wilson's also on this list. Russell Wilson, they're talking about him maybe being washed up, but he's been around since 2012. He's just never been his career just kind of dropped off much more than Rodgers or Stafford's has in much more significant way, it seems like. All right, let's look at running backs. And this is quarterbacks. We're looking actually at quarterbacks in rushing yards and touchdowns, because this has been kind of fascinating with these current quarterbacks that we have, especially in the rushing yards and touchdowns, actually. But Lamar Jackson's the all-time leader in rushing yards with 6,339. He passed Michael Vick, who had been the leader, with 6,109. They're the only 2 quarterbacks over 6,000 yards, and actually the only 2 over 5,700 yards. They got quite a lead, and now Lamar Jackson, though, despite being hurt this week and maybe not playing this upcoming week either, he will just continue to push number one out, because next up is Russell Wilson, who's in fourth with 5,556. He's not going to catch Russell Wilson. He might, if he gets back in the game, if Dart gets hurt or something, he could catch Cam Newton, who's in third with 5,628. I mean, he only needs 73 yards to pass him. So, but we'll see. You have to play, you have to get back on the field, which probably only would happen if Dart is injured. All right. Josh Allen is number 6 with 4,354, which puts him a little less than 600 yards behind number 5, Randall Cunningham. I don't think he'll get that many yards the rest of the season. So he probably will be another season before he can move into number 5. And then rounding out the top 10 is Aaron Rodgers. He's in 10th right now with 3,584 yards. He should be able to move into at least number 9 spot. He's only needs 6 more rushing yards to pass Steve McNair. And I know Rodgers doesn't run much, but it is very possible that he'll get 6 yards between now and the end of the season and to move into 9th. And then we'll see if he can catch Fran Tarkenton or not. Now, looking at rushing touchdowns, this is really fun to watch because every week this is just getting closer and closer to breaking the NFL record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. Cam Newton holds the record with 75 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen's second was 68, which, by the way, leads his team in all-time rushing TDs, the Buffalo Bills, that is. Now, third is Jalen Hurts with 59. After this, number 4 is Otto Graham with 44. So there's a huge gap. I mean, Cam Newton had a stranglehold on this number before Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. I mean, he had a lead over Otto Graham, who had 44. He had 75 of 31. And along come Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, who are just flying up the list for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. So what's interesting here to me is it's just a matter of time before Josh Allen catches Cam Newton. He only needs 7 more to tie, 8 to pass him. Jalen Hurts is right behind him. Now, Josh Allen came in the league in 2018, and Jalen Hurts came in the league in 2020. So if they continue on their pace, it's almost like whatever record Josh Allen sets, Jalen Hurts is coming up behind him to pass him. So this is going to be quite a fun race to watch as their careers progress. So those are the top 3, and the top 2 active players, the only active players on the top 10 rushing TDs all time. Looking at running backs, there are no running backs in the top 10 as far as rushing yards go. The closest is Derrick Henry. He's the only one. But he still needs another good 1,000+ yards to make it in the top 10. And I just don't know. I thought he was going to be an easy entry into the top 10 the way he was playing out, but after the first game. But since then, we'll see what happens. Now, on the other hand, Derrick Henry is in the top 10 all time in rushing TDs. He just tied Walter Payton for 5th all time with 110 rushing TDs. So he's been very impressive in that category. Only player in the top 10 as far as that goes among active players. And it's by a mile, like I said. The next running back, I think, had, I forgot, maybe 80. I'm not even sure. Something. He's just a mile ahead of whoever the next one is. And there's 9 players, or 10 actually, that have 100 or more rushing TDs. Derrick Henry has 110. Now he needs 10 more to move up to a tie with Adrian Peterson for 4th. So that's his next target. I don't know. Last year he had 16 touchdowns, I think, in the season. I don't know if he's going to be able to get another 10 the rest of this season. It's a possibility, but the only way it's a possibility is if they can somehow improve their team where he's on the field more than he is. Their defense has just been decimated with injuries. They do score a lot of points, or they had until this last week. They do need Jackson back. It makes all the difference in the world when Lamar Jackson's back there with Derrick Henry. All right, let's look at receivers. Again, no receivers in the top 10, but they're close. Travis Kelce has 1,026. Reggie Wayne is number 10 with 1,070. It's possible that Travis Kelce can get another 44 receptions this season to move into a tie with Reggie Wayne. We'll just see. He's not getting many receptions a game, but 44 over the next 12 games. It's not asking a lot. That's fewer than 4 a game. I think he can do it. He has a definite possibility to move into the top 10 this year. Now, Keenan Allen has 1,003. He needs another 67. He's been on a much better pace as far as receptions go this season. He's already got 29 so far in 5 games, so we'll say he's getting 6 a game. Yeah, he could definitely make it into the top 10. It's fascinating because there hasn't been a top 10 player as far as receptions go for so many years. It's taken forever. And like I said, once these 4 players, Kelce, Allen, Hopkins, and Adams, are done with their careers, it's going to be, again, another long period before we see any receivers making it into the top 10. All right. Now, looking at yards, all-time in the yard situation here. Well, it's Jerry Rice by a mile, by over 5,000 yards over Larry Fitzgerald. Jerry Rice has 22,895 yards to lead the NFL. Currently, there's nobody in the top 10 among active players. And really, the closest one is DeAndre Hopkins with 13,123. He still needs 1,200 yards to catch Reggie Wayne, who's in 10th in that category as well as he is in receptions. So I don't think he'll do it. I just don't see. His career seems to be winding down much more quickly than some of these other guys. So I don't see that happening. Adams is who has Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams doesn't have quite the same amount of yards. I don't know. We'll have to watch and see. Mike Evans would be another one. He's got 12,824. So if he can get back on the field and get up, at least to 13,500, 13,600, 13,600 yards or 700 yards, if he has another 1,000-yard season like he did last year, every year he's had, there's a possibility that then the next year he could move into the top 10. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, as far as receiving touchdowns, this is where we do have some active players. Like I was saying, Mike Evans and Devontae Adams broke into the top 10. Actually, they've been there. They passed Tim Brown and Steve Largent, who also each had 100 exactly. There's only 12 players in NFL history to have 100 touchdowns receiving. And now Mike Evans and Devontae Adams are tied with 106 apiece. What's fascinating, again, this is 2 players, both came in the league in 2014. Career-wise in yards, only separated by little over 600 yards. Mike Evans has 12,824 yards. Devontae Adams has 12,201. How close is that? Now, where they do differentiate quite a bit is in receptions. Mike Evans, 850 receptions, Devontae Adams, 979. But very close careers. So they have 106 receptions to be in the top 10 all time. Next up for them is Tony Gonzalez, who's an 8th tight end with 111. So they each need 5 to catch Tony Gonzalez. We'll see which one of them have the opportunity to actually do that. All right, another number that I find fascinating, along with the quarterback rushing numbers, is the running back receiving numbers. And this has been fun to watch because you've got a couple of players right now in Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey who are moving up this list. Christian McCaffrey's just put himself on the top 10 as far as receptions with 563. Alvin Kamara was already there. He just passed Marcus Allen this past Sunday to move into 4th all-time ahead. Marcus Allen was in 4th. But now Alvin Kamara has 590 receptions for his career. Next up for him is LaDainian Tomlinson, who's third among running backs in receptions with 624. So he needs another 34 this season. I think that's a possibility, though he's not doing much with his receptions so far this year. He's got 17 receptions for 77 yards. So, not doing a lot with the receptions right now. He had 4 last week, and like I said, didn't do much with them. On the other hand, Christian McCaffrey's been flying up this list. He just made it into the top 10. He'll probably pass Roger Craig, who's in 9th with 566. Christian McCaffrey has 563 receptions. So he's only 27 behind Alvin Kamara. There's a chance he can move Christian McCaffrey could go from not being in the top 10 among all-time leading running backs as far as receptions to moving up to 4th. Probably the highest he'll get. I don't think he's going to catch LaDainian Tomlinson this year. And I say that because Kamara has 17 receptions so far this season, while McCaffrey has 39 in receptions. Now, looking at yards, again, we have McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara got bumped out of the top 10 because he just wasn't getting – he was in the top 10, but Christian McCaffrey passed him this past game to push him down into number 11. Alvin Kamara's only 1 yard behind Darren Sproles to move back into the top 10, so he should. Alvin Kamara has 4,839 yards. He needs 1 to catch Darren Sproles, and he only needs 20 yards to catch Herschel Walker to move up even another spot. While Christian McCaffrey has 4,853 yards, he only needs 6 to catch Herschel Walker to move into 8th, and he needs 58 to tie Roger Craig for 7th. So I think he'll pass both of those to move up into 7th. So again, he's just moving up this list. He's got 387 yards this season already, receiving more yards than he has running, while Kamara only has 77. So you can see how he's just crushing Kamara right now as far as that goes. What's interesting, again, these two players are close in a lot of ways. They both came in the league in 2017, but you can see that Christian McCaffrey, despite all the injuries he had over his career, has come back again looking really good, while Alvin Kamara seems to be slipping little by little to being the second running back out of that backfield. We'll see what happens. Now, one more category for these running backs as far as receptions go, and that is in touchdowns. Now, this is a list where Alvin Kamara is not on the top 10 yet. He needs 2 to move into a tie for the top 10 with Joe Morrison, who has 27 receiving touchdowns. But Christian McCaffrey is already up there. He just tied Darren Sproles for second all-time in receiving touchdowns by a running back with 32. The only one left for Christian McCaffrey is Marshall Faulk, who has 36. So only 4 is all he needs to catch him. He's already got 3 receiving touchdowns this season in 5 games. So you figure he's got another maybe 6 more. If he gets 6 more, he's definitely going to do it. So there's a good possibility that he's able to catch Marshall Faulk. He needs 4, but he's on a pace to get at least 6 more, and he only needs 4 to tie, 5 to pass Marshall Faulk to be the number 1 running back as far as receiving touchdowns. It's really a cool category to see. Now, one more category. We'll look at a couple more, actually. And that is in tackles for loss. Interceptions, I don't even bother. Like I said, there's no active player within the top 100 as far as interceptions go. So it's not even worth the time to look at. Sacks right now, there's nobody near the top 10 among active players. It's going to be a while. TJ Watt is still like 30, 40 away from making it into the top 10. He's probably the closest one. But when it comes to tackles for loss, that's a different story. Right now, you've got a few players on this list. Calais Campbell's third all-time among not just active, but among all players with 191 tackles for loss. He's playing for Arizona. J.J. Watt has 195. He's in second, so he needs 4 more tackles for loss to catch J.J. Watt, 5 to pass him to move up into number 2 all time. Terrell Suggs, the only player over 200 tackles for loss. He has 202. He's in first. Now, the next one up, active players, is Levante David and Von Miller. They both have 173 tackles for loss. They're number 6th and 7th ranked. They're trying to catch Julius Peppers and Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald has 176. Julius Pepper has 175. So they only need 2 and then 3 to catch those 2 players to move up a couple more notches as well. And then one more, Cameron Jordan is on this list. He's number 10 all time in tackles for loss with 164. Now he needs 7 to catch Jared Allen and DeMarcus Ware. Might take a little while this season to do that. But so you got, let's say, 4 active players in the top 10 as far as tackles for loss go. All right. Now looking at one more category, and that's in coaching wins. Right now, among top 10 coaches in most wins, Andy Reid is number 4 all time, and he'll stay that way. He's got 275 wins so far in his career. Bill Belichick is 3rd with 302. So it's going to be another couple seasons before he's able to catch Bill Belichick. Now, Mike Tomlin right now is trying to break into the top 10. He's got 186 wins. Dan Reeves is 10th with 190. So 4 more wins by Mike Tomlin. He'll tie for 10th spot. So it's very likely that at some point this season he'll tie Chuck Noll, which is interesting, by the way. I'll mention that in a second. But Dan Reeves for 10th all-time with 190. Mike Tomlin has 186 right now. I mentioned Chuck Noll. He was Steelers coach too. He's in 9th with 193, so he'd need another 7 wins to tie Chuck Noll. So we'll see whether he can do that. 7 more wins for the Steelers this season. We'll see if he can do it, and if he does, he's tied another famous Steelers coach. All right, that is a wrap for some of the all-time leading positions. We'll look at these next week and see who's moved where and if anybody's moved up into another category. And I appreciate you listening. You can find this podcast on Just the Stats NFL on YouTube, also on your podcast apps or such as Apple, Spotify. Those are some of the sources you can find it. You can also contact me at justthestatsnfl@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. And until next time, I'm out.